Alright, let's do it for real this time. I actually hit the record button. This is the second time I haven't recorded this thing. I recorded this whole thing by using the wrong button. Isn't that just exciting? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your man at Fire himself, Halfpint, once again. Here to talk about some Subverse concerns, more of anything else. Where's the content? What's going on with game development? Why does it take so long? And so I kind of wanted to squash some of those, or quell some of those concerns that we may have of the game, and some of the questions that I thought were some common sense at this point in time, but not to belittle anybody, but well, let's just get into it. How about that? So first things first, Subverse, where is it? What happened to it? Couple things, and here's what's really throwing people off right now. Number one, they switched their updates so we only get an update once a month. And on top of that, we no longer have a guaranteed time when these updates, or I guess I should call them dev diaries. Last time I called it an update, people thought I was talking about a game update. Dev diaries. The discussions. I call them updates. I'll let you know when I'm talking about a video game update to Subverse. I'll make it perfectly clear. Okay. When's the last time we got anything telling us more about Subverse? And I know it's a little bit confusing when, not only are we down to one update, or one dev diary, but whenever it can happen, whenever a month, there's no guarantee when it's going to happen, it can throw people off. Especially when you have, let's say, one at the beginning of a month, and by the next month, the next dev diary is at the very end of the month. So it feels more like a 2-month gap in between each dev diary update. It's a little confusing sometimes, and it can feel like they haven't been talking with us. Completely understandable. Also doesn't help that, yours truly hasn't been making any Subverse videos as of late, but when life gets the rough going, life takes the priority over YouTube and video games sometimes. But on to Subverse specifically. So that's what's going on there. It is kind of disappointing that we're not really sure whenever updates come out, whenever they're going to talk about the game. But that being said, they did mention there's a Subverse game update coming out some point in time in July, or at least it's planned to come out if they didn't have to delay it for any sort of reason. I'm assuming that this next dev diary here in July will probably announce when that update's going to come out, and they're probably not wanting to do any second chances or second guesses of when it might come out for the game update, so they're trying to release the dev diary whenever they're sure of the release of the gallery, or if they even have to end up pushing it back to another month. You know what I'm saying there? So it's probably we might see something in the middle of the month, maybe towards the end, we don't know, but we still have something coming for July. Okay, so that we know about that. Where's the content? Where's the video game content? We just want to play some Subverse, buddy. Fair enough, but I mean, who else doesn't want more content for the game? There's one thing you have to understand. First things first. If you know anything or don't know anything about video game design, here's a truth bomb for you, okay? Video games take a long time to make. If you do any ounce of research, you'll understand video games are not made quick, especially with a small team of people. So here's the deal. If you think, and if you're harping on the company because they're not making a game very fast, go outside and go touch some grass. You need to do yourself a favor, and you need to make sure you go back in the outside world and spend less time harping on a video game company that's trying their damnedest to get this game out. It's ridiculous, some of the comments I have seen of people complaining like, what's going on? I've seen No Man's Sky do something better. Okay, do you really think No Man's Sky is the best comparison? The game that had the worst launch of a video game of all time. Granted, Hello Games got some great people there, but they overhyped the hell out of that game. Let's mention the fact that it took years for that game to get developed. Also, well before that they ended up even announcing the game, they're already working on it. It got delayed, I'm pretty sure at some point in time, like over a year of delays. And I'm also pretty sure that, although it's a smaller team, they're working on procedurally generated content. Subverse is a game where they specifically craft the game in a specific order. They're making each encounter. It's not randomly generated. They have to make the story. It's not randomly generated. They don't have to program a random generator and have that program the game or whatever the game is going to look like. Okay, plants aren't random. They make everything. Sure, it's not a first-person shooter, so it's not in-depth graphically, but it still takes a while to make grid combat and shoot-'em-up sections, especially how well and defined they are. Have you played the shoot-'em-up section? It is hella good. It is tight. And also, The last release of Subverse, that was a pretty polished release. There wasn't very many bugs in there. If it takes them a long time to release their portions of the game just because they want to make sure it's more polished, go for it. I heard they have as they defined it, a polish Nazi inside of there to make sure that everything's polished, and they're super on top of making sure everything is polished inside of the game. And you know what? Go for it, dude. You're doing a good job making sure that everybody and their dog inside of the studio is making sure the game is polished. Or, I guess, studios, since they don't actually, I don't think they have an actual studio they come and work at. They're working from their own houses around the world. I don't know. Anyways, they're working on that sort of stuff. So this next thing is kind of caught me by surprise because I thought a lot more people would more clearly understand how this process seems to work. And since that's not the case, let's we need a discussion for this one. Come here, everyone, gather around. Okay, so, what's taking so long if these guys are millionaires? You know, if these guys are millionaires, why is it so hard for them to make this game? It's crazy, man. Look, okay, like that's insane to me. Well, let me make this perfectly spicy and clear for you, okay? First things first. No one's a millionaire. No one at Studio Foe is a millionaire. So, the game made $2 million on Kickstarter, which is fantastic. That's awesome. That's actually pretty rare. Two things. Number one, in game development, that's not very much money. Like, at all. Publishers give way more money. Destiny 1, back in the day when it was first released, was $12 million to make. That was expensive back in the day. Now that is no longer expensive. Games are way more expensive than that on just a regular basis just to make anything possible. How much money do you think it takes to make a Call of Duty per year? Okay, $2 million is not very much money to actually work on develop a game. So where does that money go? Well, since we're talking about a small game development studio, an indie studio, where does that money go? No one's taking home bonus checks, and no one's using that money to buy a yacht. That is a fat stack of cash that sits at, let's say, Studio Foe headquarters, wherever that may be, and slowly gets burned through as a weekly paycheck basis for all its employees, okay? It's not used as someone to go invest into stocks. It's not used as someone to just sit on it and say, this is my money, and everyone else is getting their own money. People are being hired on to Studio Foe as full-time employees, meaning they are only exclusively working at Studio Foe as their job. How do they get paid for doing this since they don't work another job? That's where the cash comes in. They get paid on a weekly basis, and that is their timeline of how much time they have to work on this game. Can they take their time working on the game? Absolutely. They have that $2 million to go through, and especially since they just hired more employees to work at it, that's not that much money to go through at the end of the day, because not only are you paying your employees however much that you have to pay them for how much they're working at this as a full-time job, but on top of that, how much money do they have to spend on, like, software for the game development? Software is not free usually. How much do they have to pay for any assets they might have to purchase for Unreal Engine? There's some pretty expensive assets you have to purchase, and sometimes it helps make game development faster to purchase some assets. I mean, sure, they're going to be making their own, but I mean, there's a lot of AAA games that also do purchase assets inside of Unreal Engine and then use those. So, no, it's not a cheap process making a video game, and nobody's a millionaire. No one's going home with bonus paychecks right now. Now, granted, they did make some additional cash from the release on Steam, which is fantastic. You also have to keep in mind that whoever backed the Kickstarter got a free copy of the game. So, those people didn't buy the game on Steam. They got their free copies from the Kickstarter. So, they're not double dipping on backers by any means. No one's making extra cash off the people who already funded the game in the first place. Now, there were still a lot of people who did end up buying the game, considering that within its first day, it hit number 1 on the Steam sales charts, which, that's fantastic. So they did make some additional income from that, and whatever additional income they're slowly making from the game right now. But remember, they're not marketing. They have spent $0 on marketing, so how much money do you really think they're making right now from purchases? You know, I don't know how much people are actually going and buying Subverse. Also, considering the fact that it's a pornographic game, those don't get advertised very well on Steam. Yeah, it kind of sucks, but I mean, it is what it is. Money is not a straightforward process. It's not like you get $2 million and boom, you're rich. That's not how that works. How do you think Star Citizen is no one is super rich at Star Citizen development either. Maybe the head dude is, because apparently they haven't been spending that money very well, but that game has been developed for years because they've been slowly burning through that insane amount of cash that they have to develop that game. Screw that game, honestly. That made way too much money and it has so much feature creep. I don't know if that game's ever coming out. Luckily, that's not going to be the case for Subverse because, well, Studio Foe at least has a schedule that they keep releasing for the public and telling people that, yes, we have structure within our studio. Good. Keep that up. We also have a track record of development by Studio Foe. Their movies. They had release dates and they had certain structure on when they were going to make movies, the timeline of how long they had to make the movies, and when to release them. And they were pretty consistent with that sort of content, which is great. And that's why I have a little bit more faith in Studio Foe. They stick with their guns. They're always very open and transparent about sort of stuff. I've had numerous interviews with the guys, you know? They're stupid open about what they're doing, with the exception of future stuff about Subverse because, you know, they don't want to spoil anything for the game. Fantastic. Okay, and the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit more on the content side. We heard about the gallery that's coming to the game allegedly within July. We heard it within the June Dev Diary update that they're planning on releasing a gallery mode sometime this month. Now, I'm assuming that they're going to be talking about the release date for the gallery mode inside of the July update. Hence why we haven't had a July update yet. They probably want a more concrete date for whenever the gallery mode is supposed to be released. So expect that fairly soon, I would hope. You know, they're still going to release some sort of dev diary at some point in time during July. So fingers crossed it'll be soon, but we'll have to hold and wait on that one. And we'll have that gallery mode release whenever they're ready to have that one out, and apparently that's to hold us over for whenever they're doing bigger updates. Now, that being said, there is some, well, it depends how you look at it. It could be good or bad news here, but they mentioned in the last dev diary that a lot of the veterans at the studio are having to spend time training the newbies to be up to speed on how to work on a game in their Studio Foe structure, right? So there's going to be a little bit less content, I suppose, or gain development speed at first as they have to train up the newbies to be up to speed with the veterans or on how they work together at Studio Foe, you know, how the inner workings go. So that's less output being put into the game right now. But I guarantee you whenever they have the new people up to speed and you also have the veterans back on top of making the game, we'll probably see a lot more progress being happening. For now, though, it is going to be a little bit before we see more stuff for the game, which, I mean, if I'm being honest, I've said this a lot before, I'm going to continue to say this. I'm okay with waiting for the full game to come out whenever they're ready for it. I know that's not what they're doing. They're going to continue to release different, bigger updates for the game. I would assume a per nebula basis, you know, maybe a per act basis, however they decide to do it. But, you know, we have a tangible, playable, physical version of the game right now in our hands to have so we can understand, oh, this is what Subverse is. But I'm also assuming they're wanting to release different content drops as well, just for the sake of, let's continue to get critique from the people until we're ready for the 1.0 release of the game. And who knows, maybe they'll do some crazy advertisement once they're ready for 1.0, because that'll be their most defined, most efficient version of the game, right? So hopefully we won't have to wait too long for whenever that comes out, but my estimation of the game coming out by next year's March was probably way off. It's probably going to be a little bit longer than that, which it sucks, but what can you do with a studio of just over 12 people now? Who knows how many are really working at the studio at this given time. Now, I also heard some complaints of comparing this game to No Man's Sky. I don't understand where these No Man's Sky comparisons are coming from, but no, if that's the hill you want to die on, go ahead, buddy. But if you're going to get so aggressive towards the studio thinking that they're taking their sweet-ass time and they're not fulfilling their promises and they're taking too long for you, go outside. Go touch some grass. I think you need a little bit of fresh air so you can get off the Studio Foe's ass for a little bit. So anyways, that's all I really want to say about Subverse. Maybe we'll have more lighthearted content in the future, talking about more Studio Foe or Subverse specific content in depth. If you guys want me to talk about lore, gameplay components, things we might see, or just covering the updates and news as it comes out, then you guys let me know. But I did want to touch base with why is it takes so long for content to come out, or updates to come out, or dev diaries and all that sort of stuff. And as long as we have a bit of more of an understanding, I feel like it makes it a lot easier for people to be like, oh, okay, yeah, so it's going to be a hot minute. Also, on top of that, Look, it's not like everyone on YouTube or on this platform is talking about this sort of game. Okay, a lot of people made a review for the game and then dropped it like a sack of rocks. And it's come down to me, once again, as the only content creator on Subverse, which, again, if you want to make a YouTube channel and make Subverse content, it's a prime market to get some views. Go for it, man. But for the time being, I think it's long overdue. Ponty Boy comes back and delivers more Subverse content just for you guys, because I've been underdeveloping. And granted, life happened and life takes priorities over YouTube and games sometimes, but it is what it is. Either way, though, I'm excited to get back into it. You guys let me know what you want to see. If you want more people in the meantime to see this Subverse content in the first place, hit that like button down below. I greatly appreciate it. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you all for watching a long time, no hard time. And I'll see you guys next time.